Hating yourself is exhausting. You're living life on hard mode when you don't like yourself. And I understand because I used to be there. I hated myself a lot. But over the last decade or so, I would say really actually the last 4 years is when I made the most progress. I have done a complete 180. And now I think very highly of myself. Now I nurture myself. I forgive myself. I give myself grace. And that is what I want for you. And the thing you have to remember is my circumstances did not change. I did. My mind did. It was how I thought about myself and the world and everything around me. Your brain is doing everything in its power to resist change because it's comfortable. Personally, I was comfortable in my misery. I would dismiss every single thing someone suggested when it came to self-love, when it came to practicing the act of self-love and holding myself accountable for my thoughts. So you have to decide that you want to change. Only you can do that. The answers are out there. You just have to decide to internalize them and do the work to change the neural pathways in your brain. Your brain is very adaptable. You just have to be persistent about how you go about thinking about things. So if you're ready to get out of your own way and stop self-sabotaging your chance at happiness, which is what we talk about on this channel, then please keep watching. If you're new here, my name is Charlotte and I make videos for people who want to get out of their own damn way. We talk about tools and strategies that help you live the life you want to live. If that sounds like something that you can use help with, please consider subscribing, liking, and commenting. Just interacting with the video and watching as long as you can helps me out so much. I also am starting a newsletter where I'm going to be talking a little more niche, a little more in depth, and that's for like the hardcore people. So if that's something you're interested in, please check the description for the newsletter. Also, I write up notes for all my videos because I know folks like to take notes while watching, and if you click the link in the description, you can get those. And I also have a freebie associated with this video, so if you want that, stick around and you'll see what I'm talking about. Thank you so much. Let's get into it. The first thing you have to understand is, what stories are you telling yourself? It always starts with mindfulness and being aware of the thoughts you have. The way you perceive yourself shapes your actions and your outcomes. If you believe you're bad at something, you subconsciously act in ways that confirm that. So these negative stories feel like facts to you right now. But the first reframe you have to adopt is that these stories are not absolute fact. They are based in feelings. They are a result of deeply ingrained thought processes and patterns that you've had for a while. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, your brain is doing everything in its power to prove that true. You're going to seek out evidence that you're not good enough. You're going to avoid opportunities where you might prove yourself wrong. That means that self-hatred is a learned habit. No one is born hating themselves. This is a result of repeated thoughts reinforced over time. The brain builds strong neural pathways around repeated thought patterns, and that means your mind defaults to whatever feels familiar, even if it's harmful. But this is also good news, because if you learn to hate yourself, you can also learn to love yourself. But I just want you to be aware that your brain is going to be resistant to this change. Your brain will fight back. So this is not going to be instant. It's going to take some work and persistence because you are quite literally rewiring your brain. The first tangible step you're going to take is to notice your thoughts. That's it. Notice and neutralize them. You don't have to change them in the beginning. You just have to acknowledge that this is a thought I no longer want to have or identify with. So let me give you an example. You're cooking dinner and you accidentally burn your food, and your reflexive thought is to berate yourself. Like, I'm so stupid, I always mess everything up, I'm the worst cook ever. The first step here is to pause. Notice you just had a string of thoughts that you don't want to have anymore. And that's it. You don't have to do anything with them. You go back on with your day and try to figure out dinner. The goal of this step is to wake yourself up to the thoughts that are hurting you, because for so long you've just let them run amok. You're letting them control your brain instead of you noticing them and trying to change them. And the first step is to notice them. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by having to change everything all at once. Once you've built awareness of your thoughts, the next step is to guide them in a direction that serves you. This is where affirmations come in. And I know people hate affirmations. I know they feel fake, they feel gross. Affirming yourself feels like disgusting when you hate yourself. You don't want to do it. You feel cringy. You feel stupid for saying these things that seem so flowery and therapeutic laden, and like they don't feel real. They don't feel like it's true and you're just lying to yourself. What I recommend you start with are what are called bridge statements. Bridge statements are positive statements that gently transition you from negative self-talk to more positive talk. They act as a bridge toward a more optimistic and positive mindset. That is why they're called that. Your brain will want to resist beliefs that feel too different. So you want to bridge the gap between what you believe right now to be true and where you want to be using realistic affirmations. So let's go back to the cooking incident. Your immediate thoughts were, I'm so stupid, I always mess everything up, I'm the worst cook ever. So affirming yourself with something like, I'm incredible, I always do everything right, and Gordon Ramsay is quaking, that's going to feel like a lie. It's just not, it's going to feel fake, your brain won't believe it. But a gentle bridge statement is going to be something like, I made a mistake, but that doesn't mean I'm a failure. Even Gordon Ramsay burns food sometimes. See what we did there? You're not going directly to, oh my God, I'm incredible, because your brain's not quite there yet. You're giving your brain a taste of the redirect in a way that it can accept. And eventually, if you are persistent in tackling these thoughts, you're going to start believing the bridge statements. They won't feel resistant anymore, and you can start using more affirming statements that you will learn to believe. It is about repetition over time. Your brain's plasticity responds to what it is repeatedly exposed to. What I actually started doing for myself is making audio recordings. So I will write out affirmations that feel true to me, and I record them right in my notes app because the iPhone lets you do that. And that way I can pull them up and listen to them throughout the day. The actual audios are just like a minute or so of different topics, and I can do one for each different sort of insecurity I have. And that is a really good way for me to saturate my mind with a new way of thinking, and I don't have to be walking around in public muttering to myself and like feeling crazy, because I know you're out, you're doing things, you're at work, you know, I'm not expecting you to constantly be telling yourself things. When you're home alone cooking, you can absolutely say it out loud, and I recommend you do. I talk to myself all the time. But when you're in public, sometimes having just some affirmations to listen to on your phone are super helpful. I actually made you all an audio recording. If you want to see that, you can click the link in the description and I'll email it to you. And it's a more generic one, but that is for you to understand what I'm talking about. This is how I make mine. And I have one with music and one without music that you will receive with that email. So check that out if you're interested. The next step is to stop punishing yourself. You get to feel good right now. Say that to yourself out loud right now. Write it in the comments. That is the goal here. You get to feel good right now. Self-hatred often leads to self-sabotage because you deny yourself good things because you feel like you don't deserve them. You procrastinate because you think you'll fail anyway, or you isolate yourself because you believe you're a burden, or you brush off compliments because they don't match how you see yourself and they make you feel uncomfortable to go against your default programming. Treat yourself how you would treat someone you deeply care about. If you would not say it to them, you need to stop saying it to yourself. I know it is cliche advice, but it is true. You are treating yourself like your own worst enemy, and you need to start treating yourself like a friend. You need to start treating yourself like someone you actually like. That is how you start enjoying yourself and enjoying your own company and not being afraid of your mind. Everything we're talking about, this process, it's about shifting into self-compassion even when it feels fake. If you've spent years being harsh to yourself, kindness is going to feel unnatural, but that doesn't mean it is wrong. There is going to be a period of time during this process that you have to tell yourself, that is my old programming and I don't think that way anymore. You have to think of self-compassion as a skill, not a feeling. I actually made an entire video about self-compassion. If you want more depth, I'll link it in the cards. You can find it in the description or up here. I don't remember which side it's on. The final step here is taking on a new identity. And the biggest change happens when you stop identifying as someone who hates themselves, or someone who is a nihilist, or someone who thinks the worst of everything and everyone in the world around them. Instead of seeing yourself as broken, start identifying as someone who is learning to treat themselves well, who is taking care of themselves. Your new rule is every choice I make reinforces that I am someone who values myself, how I speak to myself, how I care for myself, how I allow others to treat me. But also remember that self-respect isn't about feeling good all of the time. It's about choosing to treat yourself well even when your brain resists, even when you're not feeling well, even when you're having unpleasant thoughts, because you're not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. Those are almost intrusive and you can't control them, but you do become the dominant narrative that you default to over time. And that's what we're changing here today, the dominant narrative. If you enjoyed this video, you're probably gonna like this one about what self-love actually is, because it's not just bubble baths and self-care. Like, that's not exactly the whole story. So thank you so much for being here. Please leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.